used to. Actually, at the beginning of the year, I was back in New Zealand cleaning out my storage unit. I cleaned out all my old flip charts. Years and years. And I found some work I'd done, and it was just very beautiful. It was good frame. Yeah, it actually was really like. I thought I really enjoyed doing that. There was something that I got a lot of pleasure out of. I found one that I made which had. It started out with one, and then you unfolded it. I forgot I knew how to do it. Because usually with art and posting, we're very low tech. You know, we don't prepare a lot beforehand. We do it on the spot. And one reason for that is to prove to people who can do that. You don't have to have laminated flip charts. You can just go low tech.
Det ligger lite grann i
So we do it now.
Yeah,
Because it's part of the process. Learning by doing.
Jag tycker olika processer passar bättre till olika lägen. Lund har ju varit mycket. Lund jobbade väldigt mycket på det
Ingenting då. Jo, men det har ju varit duktiga på.
Ja.
Det var 50 minusstickningar. Det är ju rätt häftigt. Att du själv planerar och genomför och in och sätter teman som de tycker är. Sen är det ju återigen
everybody can, I suggest that if we cluster this way, then I'll face this way and it'll be less loud for them. It'll be easier for me. So.
I'm not in the sofas.
Ooh! Oh! Yeah, me.
Jag ska gärna vara med på bild.
These are not the most cuddly sofas, but anyway.
It's true.
The other day, I tried to take one of these off and I went, oh, it's not working.
No, it's not like IKEA, or is it?
I don't know. Isn't everything IKEA?
No, I don't think so.
This is not like
This is
IKEA.
more expensive office.
Something. Would you take a post-it note, please? And what is your question? I mean, what did you choose this session, and what's your question? What do you want to know? Do you want to come in here? No? Can you come in there? Oh, please. Is anybody else willing, because this is going to get filmed, anybody else willing to be sitting on the sofa with me? So. No. Okay. But no.
No. It's better if someone moves over there.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
I'm
you're
afraid
into positioning, so.
What? Fotogenik.
Okay, so has everybody got a post-it note?
Yes.
Talking piece, we are on.
Försvann.
So what's your question? That's what I'm wanting to know.
Concerning storytelling.
Yes.
No.
Well, ask about anything. It'll be great.
Well, okay.
The question is, what is storytelling?
Save it.
What is storytelling? So,
Vänta, I have another.
so hang on. So we're going to do just a little check-in round. That's always nice. Put a band on this. That way they'll stay together. Okay. So this little session is supposed to be about stories, storytelling, and we could include appreciative inquiry in that because it's actually a method which is based on a story. It doesn't describe itself like that, but it is actually a narrative practice method. So that's kind of interesting. So we could go any direction. We could talk about what is storytelling and how does it work and why is it important. We could talk about how do you use it. We could talk about the methods that we have been using here and how would you deepen that or use that in a certain space, so kind of open to any way this might go. So let's start out with a little check-in about how are you arriving, what's your question? Why did you choose this and what's your question? Maybe just go around quickly, we can see if we've got some overlaps. We'll just start wherever that is.
Well, I chose it because I don't really know so much about storytelling. I think and I would like to know more about it, and also from the little I know, I would like to hear more about examples of when you have used it, when you have found it efficient, when it has worked well, or when it might be more difficult to use it as a method to drive the process forward.
Okay.
Okay, I like the power of stories and how it can affect people to make decisions by engaging them with heart and mind. And I like to learn more about your voice, because with due respect to all the other trainers, but you have a way of using your voice that I appreciate very much and enjoy. So you can give me some tools to inspire.
What was that?
Well, I choose this because, and my question is, how do I work with storytelling without having any stories? To begin with, sort of when I plan, I mean, how do you plan a storytelling as a method if you're without story? I mean, I don't. But I'm also, when you say appreciate inquiry, I'm really interested in that, because I like the approach of looking for what works and positives, but opportunities rather than looking for problems. So, no more.
Well, my second question was also, what is storytelling? You hear about it all the time, but what is it really? And I would say with based all of the above, like you were saying at the beginning. I would like to know more about all those things you said in the beginning.
Yeah, I changed my question a bit. How can storytelling empower the participative process? How can we make it a powerful tool?
Great. Can I have that one?
Again, my reflection around this is I think I have an idea about storytelling, and I would like to know your idea about storytelling, see, to compare and see from my understanding, because I use it as a tool when it comes to creating the stories we want others to talk about us as a company or group. So I wonder, is it the same idea about how to use it? Because the stories goes before us.
I'm sorry, I was like a bumblebee. What was the question?
The question is, why did you choose this session?
Okay.
What would you like to know?
Yes, I don't know anything about storytelling, and I like you as a person how you express yourself when you're talking, so that makes me curious to know more. Shall we write it down?
Well, I'm working with youth or young people in storytelling right now. And, I have a bunch of very powerful stories right now. So I would like to know your take on ethics in storytelling and how to sort of not exploit these stories.
Nice there. My question is similar to the others. How does it work? And what's the success keys to a good storytelling?
Okay. I'm wondering if one person could be the timekeeper, because I'm not exactly sure when this ends, but I think it's 4:20. If you could if somebody could just kind of keep me abreast of that, that would be great. In my reading, it sounds to me like scientists have figured out that we learn about storytelling already when we're in the womb. So I noticed we have one participant with a new participant with her. So this participant is learning about storytelling already, and it's because that's the way we frame things. So already, when a mother is sitting with a baby and the milk falls over and she goes, uh-oh, the child already knows what uh-oh means. Uh-oh is a story. So it seems that we kind of code each other with stories, and then we have that sense that we're living inside of a story. You know, life is like a movie, because that's actually how our brains are patterned to work. So language came up far long before the written word ever came up. And books have only been around for about 300 years or so. So it's interesting that the oral tradition was how we kept our knowledge of it alive between ourselves. That's why the saga, when I was growing up, I used to love the Norse sagas. I read all the Norse sagas and the Greek legends, and I used to love those, I think because they were the most beautifully illustrated picture books you could get. They were fantastic. But those kind of cycles have told us who we are as humans for eons. So we look at myths and legends and we don't know if they're true or not, but there is a kernel of truth in every legend and every myth. And I was reading in National Geographic one time that there was a scientist who had a question about how volcanoes arise. He was in Hawaii, and he heard a story about Pele, the fire goddess. And he looked into the story and he realized there was a message in this story about how volcanoes work, and he researched it and he went, wow, it's right there in the story. How did they know? We capture what we know in stories. So actually, here's my little handy person. Stories are the way we make sense and meaning of the world. We kind of have some experience and then we put it together in our brain in the form of a story, and that's how we hold on to it. So if you want to know what anybody knows, you actually need to consult their stories, because that's where it is. So we can talk about it in the form of knowledge management, and we can use all the fancy words and stuff, but story is actually how we keep what we know. And we can remember things far easier if we have a story about them. I read a little quote one time that said, a fact is like a sack that won't stand up without a string. So people can remember things a lot more easily if they have a story, or an example is a form of a story. So on one level, it's like our memories are actually our stories. Our stories become our memories. So who knows if you really experienced that or not? Because the way your brain captures it, it makes it into a story, and that becomes your memory. Sometimes I think to myself, did I really remember that from my childhood, or is it because I saw this picture and I got told this story about it? I don't know, But it's because of the way things work. Like, watch this. So I've now made a sound. Your brain put these things together, but the speed of light and the speed of sound are different. So they actually happened at a different time. But your brain puts them together in order to make meaning of it. So that's kind of how quickly storytelling works. So first of all, stories become our memory, and we just love it to fill in the blanks. Okay, so here's an example. So last week, I live in Denmark. So Denmark is, of course, the home of biking. Everybody's a heavy biker. I didn't bike from the age of 17 until I moved to Denmark. There's a long time between 17 and now, about 3 years now. But anyway, I was biking along, and I love biking, actually. I really like my bike, and I have a very special bike. Right? What color is my bike?
Blue.
Turquoise.
Red?
Don't know.
Black.
Green?
Blue.
Okay. Actually, I have a gold bike. That's cool. There are very few of those around.